Hello and welcome everyone to TYT Community Live here on TYT Nation. Got a great show planned for you today. We are joined by Sean and special guest from Some Say Radio with Thomas Reynolds, Juan Carlos. Welcome to the show, Juan. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Thomas Reynolds of Some Say Radio, My Lives Live. Thanks for joining us, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
Oh. Had to do it. Couldn't resist. You know.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, Tom. Tom is, of course, a first-timer on the show, although he has been a long-time listener. And of course, I have joined Tom on his show, on his radio show. A lot of fun. So, really looking forward to, to hearing some of your opinions on this show, Tom. So let's get to the stories. Unfortunately, I don't have any sidebars for you tonight, so we're just going to keep it simple. We're slumming it tonight on the bells and whistles, so we'll just have to deal with it. Anyway, our first story tonight comes to, or actually, it's about Malala Yousafzai and the Nobel Prize. So let's get started with that. The newest winner of the Nobel Prize is 17-year-old Malala Yousafzai. Now, Malala was shot in the head by Islamic militants belonging to the Taliban in Pakistan 2 years ago for trying to promote education for girls in her home country. Now, CNN recorded her speech after she found out that she was co-winner of the Nobel Prize. Now, let's take a look at what she has to say.
First of all, I would like to thank my family, my dear father, my dear mother, for their love, for their support. As my father always say, he did not give me something extra, but what he did, that he did not clip my wings. So I'm thankful to my father for not clipping my wings, for letting me to fly and achieve my goals, for showing to the world that a girl is not supposed to be the slave. A girl has the power to go forward in her life. And she's not only a mother, she's not only a sister, she's not only a wife, but a girl has she should have an identity, she should be recognized, and she has equal rights as a boy. It's sometimes quite difficult to express your feelings, but I felt really honored. I felt more powerful and more courageous because this award is not just a piece of metal or a medal that you would wear or an award that you would keep in your room, but this is really an encouragement for me to go forward and to believe in myself, to know that there are people who are supporting me in this campaign. And we are standing together. We all want to make sure that every child gets quality education. So this is really something great for me.
So there you go. There's her speech. Actually, it's very, to me, it's very inspiring. I think it's an excellent speech, and I think it's great that she has co-won the Nobel Prize, sharing it with, of course, somebody else from India. I don't have her name quite handy. But we're going to have a little bit of controversy. Going over to Tom. Tom, what do you have to say about this?
And I apologize for any background noise, just so I'm in my cave. But my biggest problem with everything with this is that they gave it to Obama the first time around. Can we rescind that? They finally got somebody who deserves it. Both the I'm going to butcher her name, so I'm not even going to say it. Her name and the Pakistani. They finally, at least, they got people who deserve it, and back to what it's supposed to be, as opposed to like some kind of little get. Like, didn't at some point they were going to give it to Rush Limbaugh or something? What did he do to contribute to world peace? So at least finally it's back to something where it's a legitimate thing to earn. And she definitely earned it, and so did the Pakistani, I believe, male who earned it as well. So at least there's some good out of it.
Indian, actually.
Indian, I'm sorry.
India, but Malala is from Pakistan.
Okay, I got my countries confused. I apologize.
That's all right. All right, Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm glad that she got it. I'm not huge on the Nobel Prize. Like, I always make the joke that the guy who it's named after invented dynamite, so like very peaceful. But yeah, this is a wonderful young woman. Like, despite the fact that she's a little kid, like she's courageous. Like she's fighting for education, and it seems weird that I would be in a country. I mean, that people are in a country with a little girl like this that should be a national treasure. She won a Nobel Prize at such a young age, and there are like actively people trying to kill them in power. So like it's great for her. I hope like she keeps championing education and all that, and like it's also like it goes to her. If there's like if she doesn't deserve if you say she doesn't deserve a peace prize for whatever reason, like she deserves a medal for courage. Like for her to come back after what she's been through and still be fighting for education in her country is amazing.
I just want to push back on it. I don't necessarily mean that she doesn't deserve it. She does deserve it. But my thing is finally we got somebody who actually earned it, and it's what it's supposed to be when you think Nobel Peace Prize. Like with Obama who got it, it's like, okay, what? He won an election? And I understand that I'll probably get pushback from that from Obama bots, but I'm sorry. There was no earning of it except winning an election there from me. There's no there. And this is a person, and both people, don't discount them, both people actually earned it. And it's nice to finally see. And yes, your point is correct on, you know, the whole thing with the, my brain just farted. So with the dynamite.
Oh, you know, regardless too of how Obama had won it, I think it's clear, and I know we're getting off track just a little bit, but I think it's clear that he no longer deserves it, especially when it comes to the consistent warfare that we've had, the drone strikes that continue to target people in Pakistan, by the way, Pakistan, Yemen, signature strikes that have been targeting people who may have the signature of a terrorist, but are more likely to be innocent civilians, like Malala. I mean, there's a large chance that one of those strikes could have hit her.
Yeah, and that's what Obama's goal is, to eliminate his competition. Obviously, he foresaw Malala.
Well, we covered this on my show. Not shameless plug it, but he is, of course, the Antichrist. We learned that today. So you got to take that for what it's worth. But seriously, though, it's nice to see that the Peace Prize is actually going towards somebody who really earned it, really deserves it, and is a spokesperson for causes that don't normally get heard in mainstream media, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah, you know, women's education, and it's, you know, and Haven has made the point before, and unfortunately she couldn't be on the show tonight. But Haven's made the point of, if you want a lot of these countries, especially, you know, like Pakistan, that are at this point backwards and male dominated, the way to empower women, and to get these countries to the 21st century is to empower women through education. And it's good to see Malala pushing that and overcoming the challenges that she had faced, and really sort of continuing to push for what she believes in, and that's education for girls. In these countries, because like I said, that's the only way that's going to get rid of this extremism and poverty and a lot of the social ills in these places, is propping up women instead of holding them down. All right, with that, let's go to President Obama and net neutrality.
Jeff, can I just make a quick point real quick on that? With propping women up, especially in a culture where it's so hard to get any female voices like that who will be heard, it's definitely a good thing, and it's good for the world community to really shine a light where it needs to be shined, especially, and not to beat the dead horse of the Ben Affleck Bill Maher tiff, but especially with stuff like that, it's good to have a nice bright light shown when everything seems so bleak with Obama's bombings and everything, and I apologize for that.
No, that's a great point to end the segment on. All right, so we'll move on to President Obama and net neutrality. An update on the fight for net neutrality. On Thursday, President Obama declared himself, quote, fully committed to net neutrality. He told a group of startup founders in California, quote, I am unequivocally committed to net neutrality. It's what has unleashed the power of the internet, and we don't want to lose that or clog up the pipes. Yes, the internet is a series of pipes, don't you remember? Quote, my appointee, Tom Wheeler, knows my position. I can't, now that he's here, I can't just call him up and tell him exactly what to do. But what I've been clear about, what the White House has been clear about, is that we expect whatever final rules to emerge to make sure that we're not creating 2 or 3 or 4 tiers of the internet. That ends up being a big priority of mine. Now, before I toss it over to you guys, and Tom specifically, I just want to say that I'm not buying this at all. This is bullshit. And you know why I think it's bullshit? It's because of actions speak louder than words. Specifically, the appointment of Tom Wheeler to the FCC chairmanship. Because Tom Wheeler was a lobbyist for the very industry that he's been appointed to regulate, which means he's got friends in the business. He worked in the business, and he's got friends in the business. And ending net neutrality and creating paid fast lanes would be awesome for those friends because they would make more money. We also know that the only reason Tom Wheeler got the job at the FCC was because he paid for it by bundling for the Obama campaign. He raised somewhere around $200,000 to $500,000 for Obama in 2008 and over $500,000 in 2012, and this is according to numbers obtained by voluntary FEC filings. And it was gathered by the Sunlight Foundation and OpenSecrets.org. With that said, do you think that Obama's just pretty much full of shit on this, or am I being a little too hard on him? Tom?
I'm gonna go one worse. Obama is diving into his own meme of I've heard it through the I can't make a decision. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna lead from behind, and this is what pisses me off about Obama. He will never take a firm stand, and then the Obama bots out there will be like, oh, he's great. And Cenk was making this point earlier. He's so great. He's so wonderful. Oh, I'm going to have an orgasm over this guy. No, it's done. It's 6 years of this. Make a fucking decision. You have people like my dad saying how great Bush was, and he couldn't stand George W. Bush because you'd never see a decision out of Obama. And then when you do, they're the worst fucking decisions. And if he would just make one good one, that would be awesome. Like, oh, I don't know, giving us a public option instead of, and having at least a debate about it instead of doing nothing and leading from behind. And I'm done with the praise of him and the first black president, yada yada yada. I'm done. I'm not going to be like Al Sharpton and never criticize him because it's ridiculous. You can't have an honest discussion about anything if you're not at least willing to go to the jugular and then come up with something constructive. And for him to, I can't pick up the phone, then what the fuck are you in the office for? I'm done.
All right, Sean?
So yeah, this is actually one of Obama's other moves. What it feels like to me is this is going to be one of Obama's other moves. If you remember when the Privatization Act had that certain provision in it, and President Obama told everybody he was going to veto it, and he felt he was going to veto it, and there was too much power. Public, it was the one restriction on it was too much. And he basically quelled all the opposition on the left from his own base. In like the dead of night, in that specific case, it was New Year's Eve. Like that seems like what he's doing now. He's saying, "I'm unbelievably supportive of net neutrality." That's like my shit. I invented that. Like net neutrality and Obama are like the same thing. And then when the time comes, the decision's going to be made really quickly, and there's not going to be that built-in opposition. Like it's not going to be built up because they're going to be like, "Don't worry, Obama's already got us." So I think it's a more savvy political move, and we've seen him do it before, and that's what I would be expecting if if you're
Sean,
you can do that.
Well, no, this is essentially.
Sean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I gotta backpedal or push back on that. It's not savvy. It's lazy. It's a lazy political move because it leads, and worse, it leads to disappointment and disenfranchisement, and it leads to apathy. And then your base doesn't show up for, Bernie Sanders because what's the point? And it's like almost as if he's doing it for a corporate entity. So we just get somebody from Comcast as the next president, like Jenks said earlier. And I'm sorry, Jeff, it's your show.
No, I'm just saying that, like, I wanted to bring up the point where what Sean was talking about. This is essentially unilateral disarmament of the left. Obama saying, "Oh, don't worry, guys, I've got this," to try and, make the people on the left say, "Okay, well, we can trust Obama, but we can't. We can't trust him on this. We can't trust him on the other things because there's been so much disappointment." And look, it's all about our expectations. I think we on the left have failed. We've failed because we expected Obama to be something that he's not. We expected him, as liberals, a lot of liberals expected him to be the new FDR or a lot of what the right likes to throw out, the Messiah, right? Nowhere near it. He's always been a right-leaning Rockefeller Republican in blackface, according to Cornel West. And it's one of those things where the only people on the left who trust him are those people who can't come to terms with the fact of, we elected someone who is more right-wing than we thought. We made a mistake, and it's about not being able to own up to that mistake. And this is where we're getting with that mistake because we're not holding him accountable for being so close to Wall Street. He always said that I don't want to play the game better. I want to change the game, and he's done nothing. It's change on the outside, continuity on the inside, and really, it's not even all that much change on the outside. Man, did I just fucking do a drop the mic moment? Did I?
Yeah, you did. I have nothing. I got nothing, and that's a lot for me. I mean, I do radio. You got to look pretty.
All right. Well,
and you both do it so well.
So I might as well just do this then.
Now, when it doesn't work 5 minutes later, don't get mad at me.
We'll have audio issues for the rest of the show because of that.
Most likely. Well, before that happens, I'll just do this by request.
What
by
the
request.
beard? Silas, that's for you, baby.
That's for you, sir. All right. We go on to the next story. I keep thinking that I have a lower third, or not a lower third, but a sidebar to pull up. Force a habit.
See, I was going to go dirty with that. I'm glad I didn't. I'll mute my mic now.
Good, because we don't want to catch you riding dirty, Tom. All right. On with the show. And when it comes to hypocrisy, the GOP always tends to deliver. This time, when it comes to this is when it comes to voter restriction and voter suppression. And this time we go to a case in Arkansas where a 79-year-old woman by the name of Joy Dunn recently found out that she was ineligible to vote. Now, Ms. Dunn tried to vote in a recent special election in Arkansas. Now, according to Think Progress, she recently received a letter telling her that her vote was thrown out because she didn't have the right kind of ID. Now, she did have several different types of ID. So, what happened? Okay, we'll get into that. But first, I want to go to a quote from her. She said, quote, "I got a letter saying my vote wasn't counted because I didn't have ID. But I've been voting in that state since 1954, and I've never had to have ID. I didn't know I was supposed to send an ID this time. Nobody told me." So this is the problem that goes along with voter ID laws. They're not clear. And they leave out certain types of ID, add in other types of ID. The rules are murky, and really it just ends up leading to voter suppression, people getting their votes thrown out. And of course, Ms. Dunn equated these voter ID laws to the very first time she cast a ballot back in 1954. And how does she equate it to? Or what does she equate it to? A poll tax. That this is essentially a poll tax, making her go around and get a special ID, travel, etc. That's a poll tax. It costs money to go around to get all these different certificates that you need to get this voter ID. Essentially a poll tax. And that makes sense because it does leave out minorities and people who are older, Ms. Dunn being, of course, over 65. She said, quote, "This is to do anything they can to stop some folks from voting." I couldn't agree more. And this brings us to another story that is kind of ironic. Apparently the same kind of strict voting laws that stopped Joy Dunn from casting her ballot also hit a GOP candidate for Attorney General in Arkansas. Here's the irony. Now, this candidate was named Leslie Rutledge, and basically she was kicked off the voter rolls after she failed to cancel a previous voter registration in D.C. and Virginia and re-register in her county, which is Pulaski County, when she moved. Now, of course, instead of blaming more strict voting laws that she did help to get on the books and that she did defend, she decided to blame this on someone else. According to Think Progress, Rutledge argued that she tried to register to vote, but that the clerk's office gave her a change of address form instead. Oh, it wasn't me, they just gave me the wrong form. Quote, "I don't know if I made any mistakes except listening to the clerk, and I should have insisted they accept my form when they refused it." And this was her talking to ArkansasMatters.com. So, they gave her the wrong form. Apparently there seems to be a large amount of confusion surrounding these new voter rules in Arkansas. And, of course, the different forms that you have to fill out. Now, here's some more of that irony. She's claiming voter suppression for this. The Republican National Lawyers Association said that she was, quote, "systematically removed from voter rolls within 90 days of a federal election." You're not the only one that's happened to. The fact is that it's a clear and unmistakable attempt at the most harmful kind of voter suppression in violation of federal law. Removing a qualified female voter from the rolls, notwithstanding her valid registration and actual votes in the last 4 elections, in violation of her civil rights, Democrats should be embarrassed. Democrats should be embarrassed. Somehow she's doing reverse voter suppression charges on the Democrats when someone like Joy Dunn can get removed since she's voted from 1954. Does that make any fucking sense to you? And did I mention that this attorney general that got kicked off the rolls also helped defend these same strict election laws? The same ones that tripped her up and Joy Dunn up? Irony, man. Sean, what do you think?
First of all, it's obviously hilarious that he got hit by, our Attorney General gets hit by the law that they defended. So classic. But yeah, this is a horrible case, and the fact that she's been voting since 1954, which is the year that Brown versus Board of Ed was decided, is also kind of like weird. It's just like she's been voting since a time when you really had like people intimidating minorities away from the vote, and what she's saying is she got through all that all this time in Arkansas, and then all of a sudden she doesn't have the proper form of ID and she's thrown off the rolls. Like, I'm not one of those people who's like crazy about voting or anything. I personally don't endorse voting in any way, but it needs to be pointed out every time we do one of these stories that the crime that they're trying to prevent doesn't happen often, and it's totally pointless. Like, and it's what you call, it's so pointless that there's no need for the voter ID requirement, even though it might sound like it makes sense. I need to show ID, yada yada yada, like to vote because I show ID for other things. Like, in-person voter fraud doesn't change an election because in-person voter fraud is so rare. Like, 2 votes aren't going to change anything. This is a way overreaction. It's obviously racially and, more importantly, politically motivated to prevent certain people who vote from Democrats for voting. Go ahead, Tom.
Can we be honest about what this is? Can we just for a moment? This is like complete suppression of the vote. They have no fucking ideas. They have the only thing they recycle is shitty Reagan ideas at that. And the only way they can win is by the lowest amount of people voting, and that's where you get apathy, and that's where you get this. There's no voter fraud. I think I nixed a show or a story on my show about the only voter fraud, or maybe I did it, I can't remember. The only voter fraud that they found was because of identity theft. That's where voter fraud comes in now, where people might be stealing the information for identity theft. This is a made-up scandal, just like Benghazi, just like Hookergate. Which is a new one, another made-up scandal because they have fucking horrible ideas. Unless you're rich, then it's all good.
Well, you bring up a good point. I mean, Goo syndrome, right? You remember that. Pretty much the father of modern conservatism. The more people that don't vote, the better chance we have of winning. The less people vote, the better chance we have of not winning. And so, that's the guy, like, father of modern conservatism. I forget his name, but that's the plan.
But to Tom's point, at least Benghazi is a place where something happened. Like, there's like one case every year in the entire 50 states. Like, it literally has affected no elections.
I want to make a really bad Benghazi joke, so I won't. But
you are more likely to get abducted by aliens, or to say that you've been abducted by aliens, or to have a candy machine fall on you and kill you, than to be basically to perpetrate in-person voter fraud.
No, I'm more likely to get laid by Sean than somebody to actually come across with more than 100 cases of voter fraud this season. Let's be honest about it. It's bullshit. It's because they don't have ideas. And the Democrats who do have ideas aren't winning because they're not running on populist ideas like Senator Warren.
Right, and the people that have ideas, they're bad ideas. They're the same Republican ideas that they've passed, that they've taken from conservatives, because everybody thinks that America is more conservative than it really is. Liberal's a dirty word still. And what was it? There was a study that came out that said that the average congressman thinks that his jurisdiction, right, is more conservative than a place in Louisiana, than the most conservative county in Louisiana. That's what the average congressman thinks their electorate is made up of. They think they're that conservative. So they obviously go to more conservative ideas.
Jeff, these are the same people who get paid by the Koch brothers, by the way, Wolfpack plug here, get paid by the Koch brothers to deny something that's right in front of their eyes. 35,000 walruses don't have ice to land on, but that's no big deal. But voter ID suppression is the biggest deal, like the coming of Christ to these people. It drives me nuts. These phony issues drives me nuts.
Yeah, but Tom, it was cold outside earlier. Climate change doesn't exist.
Tide goes in, tide goes out. What the fuck?
You can't explain that.
Sean, you're the libertarian. Explain it.
Explain it. Obviously.
Explain that shit.
It's some type of
conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
Right. Voltramax. It was Voltramax.
It's Voltramax. Anyway, we're way off. Does anybody have any anything?
I'm sorry, it's my fault. It's ADHD boy here.
Anyone have?
I have a final point.
Boy.
Go ahead, Sean.
Republicans, people in southern states that are seeking out to suppress the vote, like you guys need to cut that shit out. Like, every American, when they reach the age of 18, has the right to vote for a pre-selected candidate by the moneyed interests in their state, city, or municipality. So stop it.
That's actually incredibly accurate. But nonetheless, it is a right, and if we were to actually, if we want to actually stop the pre-selection part of that whole thing, you should get involved with a little organization they call Wolfpack.
Thank
That are
you.
apparently coming for the politicians and the moneyed interests who pay them and who buy them off and who buy our government en masse. So sign up with them, Wolfpack, wolf-pack.com, and let's clean up the system.
I have no money, but I promote the hell out of them as much as I fucking can.
That's good, and we do so as much here because, like I said, we believe in actual democracy and not
Amen.
what we have now. All right, next story. A Virginia man facing voyeurism charges Let me start that over again. A Virginia man is facing voyeurism charges after taking upskirt photos of women at the Lincoln Memorial. Has actually had those charges dismissed. According to ABC 7, D.C. Superior Court Judge Juliet McKenna ruled in favor of Christopher Cleveland of Springfield, Virginia, saying that, quote, this court finds that no individual clothed or positioned in such a manner in a public area in broad daylight in the presence of countless other individuals should have a reasonable expectation of privacy. The images captured were not, quote, incidental glimpses, and in fact were images that were exposed to the public without requiring any extraordinary lengths whatsoever to view. She also added that, quote, the fact that the defendant was intentionally photographing publicly exposed areas of women's clothed and unclothed bodies is repellent and disturbing. So, repellent and disturbing, but not illegal. Now, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Sean, we'll start with you.
Okay, so this might sound a little controversial or stir up a little controversy on this show, but I actually totally agree with the judge in this case. Like, the guy's a weirdo, and I don't want to take his side, and I don't want to defend him in any way. But the idea that you have a right not to be photographed in public, or certain sections of yourself have a right to not be photographed in public, is just not true. And if we want to live in a society where we want to film the police or other public officials doing things wrong in public, then we have to accept that other people can take pictures of us. And even though it's annoying and you totally shouldn't do it, in this case it's super creepy and pervy, it's not the same thing as the guy going into a bathroom or taking a picture of you. It's just wardrobe malfunction. If he could see it, he can photograph it. So I actually totally agree with the judge. It is a protected activity. It's weird, and you probably get punched in the face if you get caught doing it, but it shouldn't be illegal based on the ways that our society works.
I'm torn on this. The reason is I agree a lot with Sean because of the First Amendment and everything else and cameras, but it's like, have some fucking common decency, dude. I know you're a pervert, yada yada yada, but come on. And as far as the judge goes, his hands are tied. It's the First Amendment. I'm actually glad to see a judge that's not being judicially activist-like and whatever the fuck they freak out about on the right, whatever that term is. That drives me insane. So I'm okay with this to a degree that it's creepy. Fix your own face, but somebody's gonna fix it for you if they don't.
And we're hoping that they would with a nice right hook. But going back to the First Amendment thing, a Texas court recently threw out a law.
Brr. If Jeff froze, then let me just start off by saying that he was going to say that I was totally right about this case. And I'm pretty sure it was a lady judge who made this ruling, not a he, as Tom said. So I personally would blame the lady for it. And also, more importantly, it's just a First Amendment freedom issue. And if you like, go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, where did I leave off? Because I had a little technical malfunction here. Did I get to the Texas court?
I don't know. I lost you, and I had to reset.
You just started the Texas court thing.
Yep.
All right. So let me get back to where I was at here. Now, a Texas court had recently threw out a law banning upskirt photos, stating the photos are, quote, inherently expressive, like paintings, films, and books, and are protected by the First Amendment. Man, I would say that I would disagree with that particular part. I don't really think it's expressive. You're taking upskirt photos of people. How is that considered art? I'm not quite buying that argument, but at the same time, I think that Sean makes some great points of saying that, and even the judge, man, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy. It's sick, it's pervy, it's disgusting. And actually, the case like this is why I wish we had a female panelist on tonight to express that, because I'm not sure if we can give the story enough justice here. You know what I mean?
Well,
here's what I do know. Apparently, the camera's been stuck on me this whole time that you were talking, Jeff, and that's confusing our audience to continuity errors. But basically, I don't know why it would be artistic, but I guess modern art, anything could be artistic. But the point is, if you can see it in public, like you can, at a certain angle, you can see up somebody's skirt or down somebody's shirt, then what the judge is saying is that legally you can take a photo of it, like a smartphone or anything like that. Like she said that the gentleman in question, who's not a gentleman, didn't go through any extraordinary means to obtain the photo, which means he wasn't like reaching up or following her into the bathroom. These were all in view of public and therefore photographable.
Okay, here's my problem with that statement right there. That sounds like, oh, well, she dressed slutty, so she meant and wanted to be raped. Really? So she wore what she wore, so she surely wanted to have an upskirt photo selfie plastered all over Pornhub. That's what comes across to me with that statement. I know that I don't think it's you making it, but that's what it comes across.
No, that's a really great point, because it goes back to the blame the victim mentality that we have here in America. Well, she was wearing an upskirt, or she was wearing a skirt, so obviously I could see up that skirt, so I'll just stick my camera up there, from a special angle or something, and just capture her underwear or whatever. That's her fault.
I'm not blaming the people who are getting their photos taken.
I'm not saying you are.
No, but in this particular case, the guy was sitting in a lower set of stairs than the women were sitting, and he could get them on the angle. Like the point that I was making is that legally, peeping Tom laws exist, because if you go and spy on somebody in private in the bathroom or whatever, like they're not expecting to be seen there. So like that's why it's illegal to be in a bathroom or photograph people in the bathroom. It's the same justification. But in public, if you're in public and I can see cleavage, and it's not illegal for me to look at cleavage or to look at your skirt in a certain position, like maybe it's not classy, then what the judge is saying is that it should be, it is technically protected and photographable. But she she made up the point that he didn't go through any extraordinary means to get the pictures. So actually, this might still criminalize like going and taking pictures of people's skirts, where you actually put your hand there, because that's very close to assault.
Oh yeah, that's definitely needs to be, if it's not already, that should be considered some sort of sexual assault.
But that's why I consider this a good ruling, because she's saying it's stuff that you can see without doing anything specifically like invasive to see it, that you can photograph, but at the same time you can't be like reaching up and like trying to do things like that. So I think it's a balanced ruling from a lady judge.
I don't think it had to be a female or a male judge in this instance. It's a course of logic and reason, and by the law, to me personally.
So I you know what? I'm still really torn on this, but I think I have a solution here. Anybody who's caught taking pictures like that and gets their ass kicked, the person doing the ass kicking should not get in trouble for it.
Okay, Batman. I mean,
like if you're doing what this creeper guy is doing and taking pictures, I mean, first of all, like, don't you have isn't there something where, you know, you own your own image of yourself? You know what I mean? And you don't give permission for your image to be taken?
You're in like, for this case was in like near the Lincoln Memorial, I think. Like, if you're gonna say everybody has a right not to have their photo taken, then like all tourism spots have to ban cameras because somebody's gonna be taken by accident. And then we get into the fact, do public officials have a right to not have their photo taken? Like, we have a standard. It's called a reasonable expectation of privacy. And like, you can't use the photos to like demean them later or anything like that. But that's whole other issues when it comes to like other stuff. But the point is, like, we have a standard. It's reasonable expectation of privacy. And I see in the comments people are saying that the argument I'm making is the same argument that rape victims like deserve it because they wear a certain type of clothing. I'm never saying that. And like, don't compare having a photo taken of yourself to actual sexual assault. Like, that's not.
Sean, people see that as assault. You may not. I may not. If somebody wants to see Snuffleupagus, more power to them. I don't even want to see Snuffleupagus. But yeah, people see that as assault. We live in a Puritan society based on Christian morals and all that nonsense. So people have been brought up on a certain view, and that's how it comes across. You may not mean it, but that's how it comes across.
But it's a ridiculous argument, because a rape is you attacking somebody else and you're depriving them of their liberty and of their self-ownership. Like, you are attacking somebody. You are physically, or sometimes not physically, with drugs or whatever. Like, you're attacking somebody. Like, what this judge is saying is that if it's in the view of your vision, then you can take a photo of it if it's in public. Like, those two things are not the same. It's not the same as saying if a woman's in your view and you feel like raping her, go rape her. That's not even close to the same thing.
I understand, but I'm arguing the perceptive aspect, not the point. That's what I think the people in the chat room, and I haven't even looked in the chat room, to be quite honest, because my dog is distracting the hell out of me right now. She wants attention. I think it's the how people perceive it, and that's the finer point of it. Not necessarily the law or anything like that. Just how it's perceived. Expect to get punched in the face. Now, whether or not, like to Jeff's point, whether they should be charged or not, probably are not going to be charged, especially if a cop does it. But I don't know. It's just, the whole thing's creepy to me.
Well, we can definitely agree that it's 100% creepy.
Yeah, don't take the pictures. Just because I don't want it to be illegal doesn't mean, or I don't think that it is constitutionally good for this to be illegal, doesn't mean I want people to take pictures. Like, don't take the pictures. Like, I want women to feel safe anywhere they go, and like creepers like this guy, like they ruin places and nice things for everybody else. So like, don't take the pictures, but like, again, like, it's a separate argument with what I was trying to make from the First Amendment issues, the legality, and that from the point of view that we would all probably punch a guy in the face if they did this to somebody we knew.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, personally, if it was my daughter, I'd be way more severe. But that's just me. I'm an overprotective father, and I'm a bastard. So there's a level of severity on who it is and who you're protecting. But I think we should probably end on it's just creepy. We've done more than 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, one more point that I want to put. I think this might also, like, this kind of ruling has the effect of now making women insecure. Like, now they can't choose to wear skirts or dresses because they can expect that someone is going to try and take pictures of them, and that, I think, sets a really bad, I wouldn't say precedent, but it sets a really bad message, I think, saying that, you know, it's really up to you to not wear that kind of stuff if you don't want to be photographed like that in the public sphere. Like, you have to protect yourself. So it's sort of, in a way, shifting the onus to protect themselves towards women and not doing anything to punish the men who are obvious creepers. All right. Let's go to something a little bit more cheery. Ebola. The ever-compassionate Senator Inhofe decided that now was the time to stop blocking a shift in funding from the Defense Department to actually fighting Ebola in West Africa. Fascinating. Hold on. I'm apparently having camera issues. All right. Now, he had held up, let me just start the whole segment over just in case it was just stuck on Sean here. That's the last thing I want to do, is just subject people to Sean while I'm talking. Horrible. The ever-compassionate Senator Inhofe decided that now is the time to stop blocking a shift in funding from the Defense Department to fighting Ebola in West Africa. Wow. Now, he held up the $750 million funding shift over concerns about the safety of our troops in Africa and their mission. He released a statement that said, quote, "After careful consideration, I believe that the outbreak has reached a point that the only organization in the world able to provide the capabilities and speed necessary to respond to this crisis is the United States military." That, of course, is all well and good, but then he added, quote, because of the failure of the Obama administration to responsibly and strategically plan in advance for how the U.S. will be involved in West Africa, it will be difficult for me to support any further last-minute funding requests using military resources. This is why I have insisted another more appropriate funding source be identified for operations beyond 6 months. Is there any situation that they won't go after Obama for on this? Seriously? Is there any situation they won't use to try to jab Obama with? Look, the fact is we spend more than all the militaries in the world combined. So that $750 million shift to fight Ebola is nothing compared to how much we spend on fucking bombing people. But at the same time, at least we're getting $750 million to go and fight Ebola in West Africa. Finally, he got out of the way and allowed us to do what we need to do. So I'm going to go over to the panel and ask you guys what you think.
You should go to Tom, since the camera's on him.
Yeah, apparently the camera's on me, so I apologize. I denounce and reject myself. I'm here, so we have errors galore. This is typical of the right wing and the conservatives. It's been since that meeting when he got elected. We're going to bash him. We're going to make him worse than Jimmy Carter ever was. And we're even something that they would normally fund, like Ebola, they're going to have a hissy fit over. It's ridiculous. And I'm tired of it. And I in my view, as a socialist liberal, as I classify myself, I really hate defending Obama constantly because they keep attacking him this way, because he's not my favorite guy. And it drives me absolutely insane, but sometimes he just deserves it because he's literally a freaking punching bag. And my cohort, Silas, who's called into my show, has said countless times, I think they wanted him to win. Because it's, and Sean, you're being really distracting now, by the way. I think they wanted him to win. And that's what I got. Sean?
Yeah. I like this story because like they did shift money from one place to another instead of doing that thing we always do in emergencies, which is somehow find new money and chuck it at the problem. So like I'm glad he finally like changed his position. I kind of wish it wasn't on Ebola. Like there are other diseases and stuff that we could like
Yeah.
send money into research into, and I feel like that this is just a fast panic, and that's too many times how our society works. Is we get scared of something and we pass a law and it doesn't really work out, that the money and the resources end up going to nothing. Like we know all the other viruses, H1N1, bird flu, West Nile virus, East Nile virus, all these other things that just they were supposed to kill all of us, SARS, and they didn't materialize, but we sure threw a hell of enough money at it. So I'm glad that they moved money from the Defense Department to something else. I'm glad that hopefully that they'll help some people in Africa with Ebola. But like I know this is spurred on by the idea that we're terrified of the one case in America and how it's going to spread and turn us all into zombies.
You know that one case is dead, right? He died a couple of days
So are
ago.
we beating a dead horse? Oh, is that too soon?
Yeah, so there is no actual case in America anymore, and as far as I know, they still quarantined his entire family, and so I think.
Well, they have to. Well, to be fair.
No, hold on, Tom. The whole thing is that we're freaking out about Ebola in America instead of in Africa, and I think it's a good thing that we're shifting money over to Africa in order to fight this. It makes a whole lot of sense. And to Sean's point, you know, in a way, he's right about some of those diseases that were supposed to kill us: H1N1, bird flu, SARS, you know, etc. Ebola is actually really a really big problem, and it's a big problem in Africa. And I think we should help in Africa, but we should really stop freaking out about it over here.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, and plus we're missing. And I'm gonna screw up the pronunciation, Jeff. So if you could pronunciate that one for me, because and is it Enderevo 68? I'm showing my lack of knowledge on this disease in pronunciating that's killed people.
Enterovirus.
Enterovirus. Thank you. Eventually, when it's cured, I will get it right. Same symptoms, actually much worse, and nothing. In fact, the virus has invaded Canada. We from the United States have invaded Canada with this virus, and the coverage has been minimal except on local stations like here in Michigan and stuff, where like you would think a 2-year-old white kid dying of this thing because she can't get a heart transplant would be all over Fox News like Natalie Holloway. But no, because we have to follow the Bash Obama meme constantly. It's Ebola, and if Louis Gohmert farts, he's going to get Ebola.
Hashtag thanks Obama.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly.
All right. Before we move on, unless there's anything else to say, we're gonna work on
I'm done.
issues. So here's what I need to do. This little like inside baseball, but I noticed that when Sean had left the hangout and rejoined, the camera kind of fixed itself. So Tom, if you could do that, just jump out, jump back in, and then we can have this camera issue fixed.
Sure, no problem. I'll do that right now.
All right. And yes, Sean just messaged me. Tom can go in and out. Yes, I'm sure he can, Sean.
I said out and in because in and out sounded questionable.
Questionable? Indeed. Questionable indeed. And that's why I phrased it that way, by the way.
Ebola. It's going to get us.
Ebola is going to get everyone, do you know?
In all seriousness, I'm fucking sick of the Ebola coverage. Like, it's a big problem in Africa, and I want to, like, research and teach people not to, like, watch Dead and, like, all the stuff that transmit it. But, like, the fucking panic and those stupid yellow suits that they keep showing on TV is just fucking nuts.
Well, and that's the problem. And look, I think the camera is still messing up on me, so I'm going to jump out and jump back in as well.
Okay.
Having all sorts of, like, our first night back, my first night back, we're having all sorts of issues with the.
Well, no, blame me. I'll take the blame since I'm apologizing for Shaw tonight in Jordan's absence.
It's hashtag blame Sean.
Okay, well, okay. I'm trying to be diplomatic here, since we're cross-pollinating shows.
We will have none of that diplomacy here.
Fine, fuck it, blame Sean.
Hashtag blame Sean.
There you go.
Oops.
Are we moving on to the next story, or are you going to reset?
I think the camera's still on me now.
Yeah, it's stuck on Sean, which sucks.
I could be stuck on Sean.
I'm gonna go in and out. Jeff, why don't you click something? Like, click your own box. See if that
I'm working on trying to make this whole thing work without ending the hangout on you guys.
Like manual override.
We need who's our Mr. Scott for this show? We need a Mr. Scott. Fix it, Scotty.
That's essentially me.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, so like, I'm the one that I'm like the tech guy, and I have no idea what the fuck's going on. So.
I'll be right back.
So you're like me on a good day. Oh.
Goes over
That
here.
that will not fix it, Sean.
Hey man,
At least nobody can blame me for it. And then that set off my phone. Of course it did. Are we fixed?
I don't know yet.
I think that fixed it. I think that fixed that.
Why is it going back to me now?
Yeah, well.
Do you see it going back to me?
The live stream's a little behind, so.
Right, we're gonna have to. Sean's sitting there fighting with something.
Well, no, it went back to 3. I've never used a Hangout before, but it went back to 3 squares where before you had an extra TYT Nation in there, Jeff. So now it seems that part in it seems to have gotten better.
Well, I
apologize.
I still need for it to the camera to go over to me. One of those days.
Narcissist.
No, it's supposed to switch who's talking, and it helps. Oh, look at that! I'm back.
Yay!
I joined the sword fighting there beforehand, though.
All right, I think we fixed it. So,
cool.
We can continue with the show now. That's one terrible thing about Hangouts is that we can't go off the air and fix it and come back without destroying the whole stream, which is horrible.
Yeah, I have the same problem. I have the same problem with my radio show as well. If I lose the recording, so I can relate to that, Jeff.
All right.
And I'll shut up now.
We can continue. Let's head on to the final story that we have tonight. Former staff members at a Caroline County, Virginia Christian school pled guilty to assault and battery of a teenager on February 14th of this year. Well, it looks like this kid had a really bad Valentine's Day. The school is called the Abundant Life Academy, and it's a boarding school for troubled teens. Their mission is, quote, to equip students and families to live a life of love, acceptance, and forgiveness through modeling and training of biblical principles. But according to what happened to this 14-year-old student, the staff members have pretty much failed at that mission. Now, during this trial, Deputy Commonwealth Attorney Diana Botto showed a portion of a 3-hour video where this teen was seen being made to do push-ups, horse dances, and was thrown to the ground several times by the staff members. Ugh. The victim testified also that after the 3-hour assault, he was awakened every 90 minutes as part of his punishment for, you guessed it, talking to a girl on Valentine's Day of all days, and he continues to get punished because that's against the rules. Talking to a girl is against the rules of this place. Whew. What do they do when you just look at a girl? Slap you in the face? According to Judge Gordon Willis, one of the four of you could have stopped what occurred, and that's all it would have taken. It amounts to bullying. 4 grown adults bullying a 14-year-old, and you all should be ashamed of yourselves. Now, this isn't the only case of abuse from this place. According to Raw Story, quote, the investigation into abuse at the Christian Center began in April, when 4 teenagers escaped from the facility. When authorities captured them, they claimed that they have fled the facility because of rampant abuse. Now, what kind of abuse? Well, other than what these 4 staff workers were charged with and caught on tape doing, you also had another worker named Liam Galligan who was facing 12 counts of child endangerment for allegedly forcing teen boys to stand in a swamp for long periods of time. Now, the problem with this, and a lot of these therapeutic boarding schools, is that they're privately run by corporations and nonprofit organizations. So it really worries me because they have a lack of oversight. And in this case, this is certainly a case where it's true. They can essentially do what they want and are quote-unquote tough love schools. Well, we saw that action in the video. So what do you guys think about the story, and what do you think we should do to prevent more cases of abuse like this from happening? I'll go with you, Sean.
Yeah, what sticks out to me about this story is the words in it, and I know you asked me what we should do to prevent abuse like this from happening. But the words that they use about the kids who escaped from the boarding school, like, I realize it's supposed to be a disciplinary environment, but it's not supposed to be a prison, and it sounds like these are like prison guards beating on like mates. Like, you get what I'm saying? You got that sense from reading it, right, Jeff?
Yeah, and actually, that's what these tough love schools are at. You can't just. The whole point is you have to adjust because you can't escape. They are essentially prisons. They're essentially privatized since they are run by corporations and nonprofits. And these kids are sealed in there, often with the parents not knowing exactly what's going on and just thinking, well, these are places where my troubled teenager can get help. And what they don't know is that they're locked in there 24/7 and can't do anything about it. And
yeah, what I would say, and I realize that some of these places might theoretically do a good job, whatever. But like, don't send your troubled kid anywhere, because the people who want to take in and help troubled kids, sometimes they're great people there. Sometimes they're people who want to victimize children that they don't think anybody will believe. And like, that's what this seems like. It seems like they pick people that are troubled, that, you know, they could easily say, oh, they're making that up or whatever, and they had them locked up and they did horrible things to them. So don't send your kids anywhere. Like, if they're assholes, like, be old-fashioned like Adrian Peterson and take care of them yourselves.
Oh, because that's a brilliant idea, Sean. Just be old-fashioned like Adrian Peterson and beat them. that works out for me. Oh my God. Can I chime in on this a little bit? I have a little experience.
I'm gonna go to you next, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have a little experience with this. I don't know if you know my background, Jeff. I don't know if we talked about this on the show before. But I went to an all-boys Catholic boarding school. Like, all-boys, strict Catholic boarding school. The whole selling point was, we're going to take your rich kid and fix them. And what they do is they drum a routine. Now, mine was not nearly as bad as this. By any means, it's not this bad. But what their selling feature is, we're going to do what you can't do, because whether you can't do it because you don't want to do it, you don't have the time to do it, or you've tried everything, and that's what they sell it as. And that's the worst kind of sales pitch, because they expect results, and it's not even parents not wanting to know. It's parents thinking, okay, I'm doing something good for my kid because they're troubled. And I voluntarily went there because I wanted out of my particular school. My case is totally different.
Mhm.
I actually voluntarily went there because I wanted to get out of my house and I wanted to be on my own. So I felt this was an out for me. So I went on my own, where other kids there that I met were rich, spoiled brats. So you have to keep that in context of the situation. Now, I'm not saying there weren't, I'm not blaming the victim, but as someone who was in this type of situation, I think I know it a little bit most out of everybody. And just take your jacket off, Jeff. You look like you're going to sweat to death. Get comfortable.
Look, it is hot in here. I won't lie. It's pretty warm in here.
You look like you're in a sauna, dude. Just take your jacket off.
I'm good. I'm good for a
Okay.
little while.
Suffer in silence.
Pop a button or two.
Yeah, right? When Silas is watching, pop a button or 3.
Anyway,
And now you're blushing.
no, I'm hot. Like, seriously. Like my face hasn't turned color. It's just hot.
And as for these
It's awesome.
particular and Jeff, as for these particular cases, they sound more like Gitmo than an actual school. And that's scary. And these are the same people who scream religious freedom and no regulation. And that should terrify you.
Well, and the problem is that these schools don't get they have a lack of proper oversight, and because of they're protected because they're private institutions and nonprofits, and that should be really troubling because at a lot of these places, I mean, we're continuing to get a lot of stories from a lot of private institutions that are doing these kind of things. It's almost like what happens with private prisons. Privatized prisons with stories of rampant abuse, people dying in these private institutions. There's a real problem with privatization in America, and this is just another facet of that, just another part of the privatization of stuff that should be public in nature.
I don't think I want a public boarding school pseudo prison for my little kids. I don't really want many, if any, of these. But
if you make it public, it might not be a pseudo prison.
But there are plenty of abuses in public prisons that are just as awful as private prisons. But I just want to throw in one thing that would probably solve this. To Jeff's point, if we just put Common Core in these boarding schools, everything would be totally fine. No, but in all seriousness, people need to stop trusting people with their kids. Like, they need to stop. Like, predators go into positions of trust, and I don't care if they're your religious leader. I don't care what kind of school it is. Like, it's weird to send your kid to a school where he's gone for a year and he's sleeping there and he's under 18, he or she, and I'm not saying you should expect bad things to happen, but I'm just saying, like,
oh no, you should.
Concern in the parents. Like, this seems like a horrible idea. Like don't send your kids to summer camp either, because I just hate summer camp. But that's random. Just be careful who you put your kids with. Predators like being in positions of trust, and it seems weird that time and time again parents are like, whatever, I like him, he's from God, whatever. Like, be smarter.
Be smarter. Only you can prevent forest fires. I'm sorry, I had to. I saw that somewhere, that opening, and I drove Louis Goldman struck through it.
You had one job, Smokey. You had one job. All right. Well, anyway, I think that's all we have for tonight. That's all the stories we have for tonight, anyway.
See, Jeff, this is what happens when you allow me loose on the public at mass.
Oh, please! If you wouldn't have made that terrible joke, I would have came in with a pun, or Sean would have said something ridiculous.
Well, see, I saved the day.
You basically prevented us from saying something ridiculous, so now we can blame you. Blame Tom.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, guys, I want to thank you both for being on the show tonight, Sean and Tom. Make sure to check out Tom on his radio show, myliberals.com, #MyLibsLive. That's over at somesay.info, right?
Yep, you got it
Follow him
right.
on Twitter at FlintStoutingTom.
If I didn't scare you away, that is.
No, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So always have a great time. Pretty much everybody from the TYT community crowd has pretty much cross-pollinated and ruined your show. So it's only fair.
You guys are great now. Well, programming now. As long as Haven's missus says it's okay, she'll be on Sunday. Sunday
Awesome.
show at 6. So hopefully we'll be able to have that happen. So for that, unless she sees this show and I totally scare her away, then there's that.
Also, Haven and I have been ducking each other. It's not intentional. We just have scheduling conflicts. We do like each other. It's not like Jordan and I, who totally hate each other.
Well, and here's the thing about all the different TYT community panelists is that, we do have a large crowd of people, but at the same time, everybody's got their own things that they have to do. For example, Steven's got a teaching gig that he's doing right now, so he's unable to make a lot of the shows. Nick has a job that he's doing right now for a little while, so that schedule conflict.
Jobs are good.
A bit.
Jeff,
so.
Let me just stop you there. Don't lie. Everybody knows Canadians don't work. Nick did a job.
I thought that was the French.
You might be right on the French. Well, what about the French Canadians?
Oh man, then we're just, that's a whole nother topic.
So, but no, everybody's got their own thing, so that just leaves more opportunities for new people to come on and to be a part of the TYT community crowd. What I'm hoping to do is eventually get a large pool so that we can always have somebody else new on and every night that can come in and swap people out, so we can always have a large panel. No, so we can always have a large panel, so everybody can get to have shows with each other, and we can. We're a community, so we're getting everybody mixing in and everything like that, and that's what we want. Just a large community.
Oh my God! Can we be like the TYT community?
We can.
Oh Lord, Captain Obvious strikes again. Can I do a quick plug that I want to invite you guys to? I know it starts early, but the 31st, everybody's invited. I could have up to 25 people on the chat, so hopefully it won't crash my computer as we do it. We're doing a spooktacular, starting at 2 o'clock, going till 6 o'clock when the Young Turks starts on the 31st. So that should be tons of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds spooktacular, and whatever terrible Halloween style pun Sean can come up with. Nothing. But anyway,
I'm too
back to the
terrified to make that.
Anyway,
looks like Tom is bobbing for RSVPs.
Oh,
those were.
I'm so pumpkined for your party.
I need fake tears from Glenn Beck to cry from those bad puns.
I can edit those in post.
Please do. Just have me weeping.
But anyway, getting back to the panel and how you can join it. Just drop me a line on Twitter at Jeff's Politics or at TYT Community. You can email me at jeffw@tytnetwork.com to show me your interest, and we'll fit you in on the show. So if you guys are interested, this is this show's your guys' platform. So if you want on, you can be on, be a panelist, and become a regular. So
yeah, and it's always a treat to have new people and never a trick.
Oh.
I'm going to chime in on that. I'm the only trick. So if we're gonna do it right, that would be me. So
you're the trick, and I'm the treat.
Yeah, there you go. Naughty touch time. See, I know what that means. If you listen to some say, you know what that means.
Little inside baseball there. All right, everybody. That's it for TYT Community tonight. Make sure to join us join me next week on the Around the Nation live stream. We'll have it somewhere around 2 or 3 o'clock, so I'll keep you guys posted on when I'm able to do that live stream. I'll have a lot of great stories for you on Monday through Wednesday, Around the Nation, sometime in the afternoon, 2 to 4 p.m. in that range, until I start nailing down a good time. And basically what I'm trying to do is to not bump ass in into Tom's show and knock him off track. So we'll be going along a little bit with Tom's schedule to try to be at least an hour before Tom's show to keep our schedule nice and tight. So check that out Monday through Wednesday, and of course come back here every Thursday, Friday night for TYT Community, for the TYT Community panel. For TYT Community, I am your host, Jeff Waldorf, and you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Thanks. Little known fact, Captain Crunch, actually a commander.
Oh, good grief. Bye-bye, and thank you for having me, Jeff.
Thanks again for joining us, Tom. We'll listen to you on Monday.
Some say.
Oh, no, Sunday. Sunday,
Some say, but okay.
Yep.
Yes,
Sunday.
Yes, at 6 o'clock.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Cap.